Hello and welcome. This is TVC News at 7. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has charged the church to use its influence of inspiring social morals to speak against violent non-state actors. He said this at the opening session of the 4th General Assembly of the Reunion of Episcopal Conferences of West Africa. Buyo Thomas was there.
And security challenges in different parts of the West African sub-region have become daily items in the news around the world. These challenges are further deepened by the threats to democracy in the region. Making concerted efforts to overcome these challenges is imperative in order to achieve sustainable peace. Nigeria's Vice President, who is a special guest at the meeting of all bishops of the Catholic Church, acknowledges the important roles faith-based institutions can play in overcoming these challenges.
By offering concrete prescriptions on building brotherhood and sustainable peace anywhere, the encyclical Fratelli Tutti rightly takes the position that it is not merely the business of governments and political institutions to find means of securing peace. It must also be anchored on our civil societies, of which our faith communities are an important constituency.
The meeting highlights the reasons these challenges are so deep-rooted, which is the lack of brotherhood and love amongst members of the community. Speakers charged the church to shun tribalism, rather preach love and acceptance.
We have to keep in mind, especially inside the church, collaboration and distinction. Because the problem is when we cannot make distinction between political leader and a religious leader.
So only through a penitential memory based on truth, justice, and forgiveness will we build our human family on social friendship, universal brotherhood and sisterhood.
Leaders of the region must therefore use political power to create good governance, rather than for personal advancement or to allow religious, ethnic, economic, or political interests to subordinate the common good.
The week-long meeting had in attendance bishops from the 15 member states of ECOWAS, governors, ministers, and the secretary to the state government, Boss Mustafa. This Bishop Summit has once again been a wake-up call not only to Nigeria, but the whole of the West African region on the importance of brotherhood in achieving peace and national development. Buyo Thomas, TVC News.
Meanwhile, the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has arrived in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, on a 2-day mission to Nigeria. It's also his first visit to the country. He was received at the airport by the Governor Babangida Zulum and other stakeholders who also were there. He visited some families affected by the ongoing protracted insecurity in the region at the Gubio internally displaced camp in Maiduguri. The UN chief will also evaluate the impact of climate change on vulnerable communities and assess progress made as well as the challenges to the COVID-19 recovery. He's to head to Abuja to meet with President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, as well as other top cabinet officials. And now to the war against insurgency, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, has given a marching order to troops of Operation Hadrin Daji operating in the northwest region to eliminate terrorists and other criminals operating in the region. The Army Chief gave the order after lunch with troops in Isa local government area of Sokoto State as part of activities to celebrate the Eid al-Fitr with them. This was shortly after he laid the foundation stone of the Nigeria Army Forward Base operating base. Lieutenant General Yahya says he will not be satisfied if the troops fail to eliminate terrorists from their hideout and destroy their weapons to restore peace in the troubled area. The Chief of Army Staff says the forward base operating base is also aimed at increasing the presence of men and equipment close to the area of operation with the goal of eliminating the criminal elements disturbing the peace of the nation.
is to neutralize more of these terrorists, more of these bandits, more of these kidnappers, more of these violent criminals across the gamut of our country. They are not satisfied, but you to bring them until we completely defeat and eliminate this monster of insecurity, be it by terrorists or insurgents, be it by bandits or kidnappers or other violent criminals, anywhere they are.
Staying with security, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Akali Baba, has ensured an effective upgrade and relaunch of the Nigeria Police Crime and Incident Database Center. This will aid in providing additional aid to police operatives in acquiring credible electronic criminal database to support investigations and strategic operational and tactical planning. This will further facilitate easy identification of suspects, crime location, modus operandi, global positioning system to geolocate crimes, amongst others. The IGP has also mandated the comprehensive training of dedicated police personnel who would man the systems across zonal, state, and divisional headquarters. The Inspector General of Police emphasized that these developments are in line with this policing agenda to incorporate the application of cutting-edge technology and intelligence-led policing model to operational and investigational functions. Today is World Press Freedom Day. It's a day to press into the consciousness of citizens the importance of ensuring the impartiality of the media is not violated. In the face of harassment and attacks on media personnel, this year, the Nigeria Union of Journalists is advocating more protection for journalists in the discharge of their duty. Maria Mohammed reports.
Every year, the World Press Freedom Day is celebrated to commemorate journalists and highlight the difficulties they face in reporting the truth. This year's theme, Journalism on the Siege, brings to focus how governments of various countries now use technological surveillance to monitor and impact freedom of expression. The freedom of expression and right to privacy are among human rights most impacted by digital transformation. In 2021, the Nigerian government, in its bid to control media, allocated 4.8 billion naira to the National Intelligence Agency to monitor WhatsApp messages, phone calls and texts. This raised a lot of concerns amongst journalists who would at times need to protect their sources of information. Another area of contention among journalists are the restrictions placed on information they can access from federal ministries, departments and agencies. The signing of Freedom of Information Act into law has done little to remove obstacles to how much information journalists can obtain from government. Beyond this, journalists find themselves increasingly at loggerheads with authority figures over their efforts to be the watchdogs of government as stipulated by the 1999 Constitution as amended. It has resulted in legal entanglement for journalists, often accused of libel and often detained for times on end or even jailed. Unfortunately, many citizens often do not appreciate the sacrifices made by media in bringing the truth to light. There are those who insist journalists have lost their way and have become increasingly mercenary and willing to sweep the truth under the carpet in return for the brown envelope. These Nigerians think journalism in the country has been compromised, and it is not surprising that journalism come under physical attack from citizens as a result of this. Emmanuel Obeche is the chairman, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Abuja chapter. He further enumerates challenges journalists face in Nigeria. He wants Nigerians to know journalists still play their role in holding governments accountable and urge support by the authorities at all levels in order for them to thrive. He also implored journalists to work as professionals who has the interests of the nation at heart.
When journalists operate in an atmosphere of fear, harassment, intimidation, arrest, and detention, democracy suffers, human rights suffers, good governance suffers. That is why there is need for government to provide a conducive environment for journalists and media workers to practice their craft.
The real ethic of journalists, being the watchword watchdog of the public is no longer there today. You hardly see a media house now that I don't know whether it is because of the harassment from the government that will say the truth even on the live program.
They give us the news like maybe they have paid them before they come on air. But sometimes when they see the facts, they will do it in their own to please the government and themselves.
Other Nigerians expressed satisfaction with Nigerian journalists, believing they still stand in the gap to ensure government institutions and indeed society as a whole does not act with total impunity.
I think that yes, they are actually doing their job, because things are happening around us and they've not shied away from presenting those stories the way they are. To some extent, I think they are holding the government accountable for all their actions.
In order to maintain the core value of journalism, journalists are advised to always provide credible information, no matter the situation. Mary Mohammed, TVC News, Abuja.
The media, as one of the custodians of the rule of law, has a duty to speak out against the suppression of the freedom of expression by the executive. This admonition was stressed at the Civic Space Guard Conference in Lagos. Kemi Faladiemo was there.
The Civic Space Guard is an intervention of the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism and its partners, which seeks to fortify the position of the media as an independent protector of the civic space. The event enabled crucial conversations among stakeholders, including journalists, activists, and security agents.
The police is to provide adequate security. The police is not to say you cannot protest because it can lead to insecurity. Because the moment you say who looks like that, what you are supposed to do after making that statement is to remove your uniform.
If you're not conflicted, feel free to gather, but don't obstruct any other person. If you obstruct another person, I will not allow it. Because what if someone in dire need of medical attention is being taken to the hospital and some people just block the road, which is an offense in itself. So these are the concerns we have. We're not trying to suppress anybody. It's just to deliver on my mandate to make sure that everybody's the lives of Nigerians are protected.
Leadership is service, selflessness, and sacrifice through discipline, integrity, and accountability, most especially to God and to the people who are sworn to serve. Anything contrary is fraud.
The organizers hope to revive the shrinking civic space and provide avenues for progressive participation in governance.
It is our role, since we sent the people in government to the spaces they are in, it is our role to ask questions, to ask for transparency, to protest if people are being brutalized, for instance. It is our role. It's also the government's role, to provide a space where people can do that. It's the police role to provide security.
Buhari, after he had lost, claimed that the election was rigged.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark Press Freedom Day, governments are urged to ensure the civic space remains vibrant for democracy, good governance, and social justice to thrive. Kemi Faladiemo, TVC News, Lagos.
A president of Southern extraction. At a news conference in Abuja, the group argued that it's aware that while power is not given, calls for a power shift are in line with preserving the unity and peaceful coexistence of Nigeria. Habidalawal has more.
The federal character principle was introduced not only to appease the ethnic nationalities, but to promote national cohesion and a sense of belonging for citizens from all parts of the country. While the federal character is entrenched in the 1999 Constitution as amended, zoning is not. Although zoning may have emerged as a product of necessity, it represents in its expediency a response to nation building.
I want to read off.
This civil society group is projecting the call for a power shift to the southern part of the country.
We thus urge all political parties to follow what will retain the unity of the country and zone presidency to the southern states come 2023, parties should stop playing politics with the people of Nigeria. The country is overwhelmed with myriads of problems, ranging from insecurity, banditry, terrorism, decayed infrastructure, etc. We must not compound the woes of the country once again.
It is premised on the principles of equity, fairness, and justice. And the rotational arrangement is not just a wish of the incumbent political class, that is the APC, PDP, or whatever, which they may choose to respect or not. It is the wishes of Nigerians who, of course, have struggled to make this democracy work. We should all note that what gave birth to the geopolitical zone structures that we have in this country today, which is enshrined in our federal character principle, is the need for equity and fairness in the country.
There were strong indications that the presidency would be zoned to the southern part of the country a few months ago, but the body language of the two political parties in recent times seems to suggest they are considering an open contest for all. Despite its many advantages as regards nation building, zoning remains a contested arrangement in Nigerian politics. Habib Alawal, TVC News, Abuja.
And members of the All Progressives Congress across the Southwest have endorsed Asiwaju Bola Tinubu for president by signing his nomination form in Lagos. The party members in the state also signed the nomination form of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to endorse him for his second term in office. Correspondent Ademola Lawrence reports.
According to Article 20, subsection 4E of the Constitution of the All Progressive Congress, APC, the National Working Committee, NWC, can make rules for nominations of candidates for the party in all electoral contests from councillorship to presidency. As a result of these, every presidential aspirant must have 420 registered members to sign on his nomination form, while 300 registered party members must do same for the governorship aspirants. For the ruling APC, more than 10 aspirants have declared interest to contest for the highest political office in the country. But for these party members, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu remains the best choice. As a result of these, some APC leaders from the Southwest converged in Lagos to sign the presidential nomination form of Tinubu. For these party leaders, Tinubu's achievements in government and politics stands him out as the best candidate for the party.
Indication that the intention is supported by members of the party, legitimate members of the party.
We get a few to Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Osun, Ekiti, and all of them from all the states have come here to sign. And we're moving into Abuja tomorrow.
The significance of today, signing here is to show you. You can see, over 40 of us came from Ekiti, only 10 signed. It's just to tell you that the man is loved everywhere.
We came all the way from Ondo State to sign and to help in the process.
If we don't believe in Asiwaju, we won't initiate all the moves we have initiated.
In addition, 300 registered party leaders and members also endorsed Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu for second term in office, saying he has performed well.
The importance of this is that 300 members must sign. And when they sign like that, it's like they are taking ownership of the election process.
From the beginning, and I'm happy that I'm hale and hearty and I'm alive to see him on his journey to the second term.
For many here, the 2023 elections will be a turning point for the country, and the people must vote wisely to have a greater Nigeria for all. Ademola Lawrence, TVC News, Lagos.
Still in politics, diverse tools are being applied in attracting the attention of the populace who ordinarily do not care to participate in the electoral process. One of the latest tools are drama skits by the Perfect 7 project to drive enlightenment as Nigerians prepare for the 2023 general election. Theophilus Elama has more.
Since the return to democracy in 1999, elections in Nigeria are said to have been characterized by voter apathy. According to an infographic by Enough is Enough Nigeria, The 2019 presidential elections recorded the lowest voter turnout, with just 35.66% of registered voters determining the outcome of the elections. It's based on this steady interest in voting that the Perfect 7 project is unveiling drama pieces as enlightenment tools.
And our wages and salaries are not being increased. How do we survive? How?
We discovered that most people actually complain about governance and all the ills that we see associated with politics, yet they do not partake in the political process.
We've decided to focus on ensuring that we get as many Nigerians as possible to participate in the political process. We've examined existing data on participation in Nigeria, and what we've discovered is that there is very, very, very limited number of people that participate in the political process.
This initiative is designed to change the narrative and galvanize the Nigerian electorate to participate actively in large numbers in the electoral process.
Our hope is that these skits will help mobilize as many people as possible to begin to take interest in elections and in the governance process as well, so that we can have the kind of government that we want.
So wherever we live in our different communities, please let us talk to people, not just as members of the press, but as concerned Nigerians, because this is about us.
As Nigerians prepare to go out and vote in 2023, it is hoped that such interventions will further broaden the understanding of Nigerians and the need to not just be interested in knowing who is contesting for what position, but to make their votes count. Theophilus Ilama, TVC News, Lagos.
Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Baboye Oyeyemi, has appealed to officers of the Corps to be more committed in ensuring that road crashes are reduced to the barest minimum on Nigerian roads. Mr. Oyeyemi was speaking in Osogbo at the pulling out parade of the zonal commanding officer in charge of Osun, Oyo, and Ondo states. We have details in this report.
The event was organized in honor of Assistant Corps Marshal Emmanuel Omotoshoabi, who has served his country meritoriously. Dignitaries from far and near, including serving and retired officers of the Federal Road Safety Corps and other sister agencies, are here to celebrate a man whom they described as an outstanding professional. The Corps Marshal of the FRSC, who was represented at the pulling out parade, urged officers of the Corps to put in their best in their service to the country.
That commitment for him. He was a committed officer. He was a hard-working officer, and I don't want it to just go that way. I want the upcoming officers to emulate him in his commitment. He was a very gentleman. Or he is a very gentleman. So now that he's retired, he should actually make out time to fill in the gap he created while serving his nation. Be close to his family. Be close to God.
In his valedictory address, retired Assistant Corps Marshal Emmanuel Abi encouraged the personnel of the FRSC to uphold the core value of the Corps. He also appealed to the federal government to invest more in the operations of the Corps to reduce the rate of attacks on its personnel.
I had stories of people, of motorists knocking down our staff on the highway. You see, we've seen a situation whereby they called us that there was a problem somewhere. People moved there. On getting there, they started shooting them. So I want government to do more things on this, so that their life can be protected.
You have so much time now. Nobody's going to tell you, it's time for work, it's time to close, or you have to submit this assignment, you have to do this. Time is in your hands, and you have to master the time.
I feel good because a long time we have stayed together, but now we are going to stay together and enjoy our life together.
Emmanuel Abi joined the FRSC in 1996 and was until his retirement the zonal commander of RS 11.1 Osogbo. Rafiu Hamid, TVC News, Osogbo.
In other news, the federal government has been urged to prioritize education and other key sectors in the development of infrastructure to stimulate innovation, especially in the tertiary institutions. Governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, spoke while inspecting ongoing construction work at the Faculty of Engineering in the new University of Delta, Agbo. Ikenameji has details and will return with business news.
The institution has kicked off academic activities with the admission of over 2,000 students. Some faculties are lacking infrastructure. The students who are in their first session are presently sharing facilities here at the main campus, but the state government is constructing buildings for some faculties. Governor Okowa is today inspecting ongoing works at the faculties of Engineering and Environmental Sciences in Owa Alero, Ika Northeast local government area.
What we're seeing there is the various facilities that will be required to enable a full takeoff. Yes, some of the classrooms are ready. The various other projects, the library, the workshop, and other things that are nearing completion, and we hope that very soon we'll be able to complete that. Looking at my back, we have some of the engineering equipments already supplied, and I'm hoping that the completion of the workshops and the studio, then we'll be able to get these equipment installed.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities Industrial Action has stretched for more than 8 weeks, and investment in education seem over the years to be on a steady decline. For Governor Okowa, the federal government should prioritize education to enhance human capital development.
We need to invest more funds in education. There's no doubt about that. More funds in terms of infrastructure, more funds in terms of human resource, more funds in terms of equipment that is needed. In the individual sectors, education, health, you have very huge funds available for recurrent because of payment of salaries. At the end, you only have between 10 to 15, at the maximum 20% for capital development. That in itself is a very huge problem. But can they do a little more? The question is we have to find a way to reprioritize. We have to find a way to generate more revenue.
The Delta State Governor, who recently established 3 new universities with the approval of the National Universities Commission, says he is committed to ensuring that before the end of his administration, the new schools will be adequately equipped with basic infrastructure. Ikenna Amechi, TVC News, Owa Alero, Delta State.
In business news, Nigeria's external reserves fell slightly by $196 million in 8 days to $39.62 billion as of April 28. That's according to the latest data from the Central Bank of Nigeria. According to the CBN, the reserves, which had earlier gained $243.83 million in 19 days from $39.54 billion as of April 1st, 2022, and rose to $39.78 billion as of April 19, 2022, returned to a downward path. The report also shows that external reserves fell by $313 million in March after starting the month at $39.86 billion, before falling to $39.5 billion on March 30. Reacting to this development, the governor of the Apex Bank, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, and the Bankers Committee expressed the need for the country to boost revenue from non-oil exports to reduce the impact of the volatility on the oil price. Chairman of IOD Center for Corporate Governance, Mr. Shaibu Idris, says tackling illicit financial flows is a matter of survival for Africa's development. Mr. Idris spoke at the IOD-CCG Stakeholders Roundtable on a public lecture, public-private sector dialogue on strengthening anti-money laundering, counterfeiting, terrorism, financing, and curbing illicit financial flows in Nigeria and West Africa. Speakers here opined that Africa is losing about 5% of the continental GDP annually to illicit capital flight. They added that the proliferation of illicit financial flows has continued to enable terrorist activities and insecurity, which must be addressed as a matter of urgency.
Mechanism of reporting suspicious transaction, terrorism, financing, money laundering, and other crimes, relating to finance. It does appear to me and to us generally that these gatekeepers, that is the financial industry players, are only ticking the boxes and not actually scrutinizing and interrogating even deeper transactions and customers to make sure that criminals are not allowed into our financial system.
Partnerships between the public and private sectors have become imperatives in addressing issues of money laundering. The government cannot do it alone, the private sector cannot do it alone. So the need for a consensus, for a strong collaboration, for strong partnership between the public sector and private sector, private sector and public sector, have become imperative. And this program is an evidence.
The Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria has urged government at all levels to establish a vibrant fiscal framework to actualize its revenue generation drive and other budgetary goals that will impact positively on businesses, the economy, and improve Nigeria's index on the ease of doing business ratings. Blessed Omonose has that report.
Nigeria's revenue to GDP ratio is estimated at about 7.5%, which is low when compared to other emerging countries. This development has been attributed to insufficient revenue generated from taxation, which has in turn affected government spending on the economy. To this end, the president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Mr. Adeshina Adedayo, while speaking at the 46th induction ceremony of the Institute, stressed the need for synergy in tax administration among the different tiers of government.
When you are talking about innovation and imagination, in a place like Qatar, they came up with what is called a sin tax, and that has to do with what they don't encourage you to consume. If you now want to consume, you'll be ready to pay more or less like 200% tax. Nobody is stopping you. We are not saying don't consume alcohol. If you want to consume alcohol, are you ready to buy an alcohol of 100 naira for 300 naira? If the answer is a yes, go ahead. But you now realize that the 200 naira difference is the revenue to the government.
Mr. President has repeatedly stated it clearly that greater emphasis should be placed on revenue generation than the expenditure side of our budget. So it is only with increased revenue generation that we can sufficiently and adequately implement our budget.
The CITN president also urged the newly inducted members to be prudent and accountable in all their dealings, especially in professional services rendered to clients at various levels of engagement.
Cannot be a member of an institute and say that, oh, you are not bound by their rules. That's number one. You are bound by their practices, you are bound by their guidelines. Then secondly, the institute can no longer disown you. We can disown you if you have not been admitted, that we do not know you. You are not in our register of members. But the day you get registered, it means you are already one of us. It is a question of all for one and one for all.
Given the country's multiple and overlapping tax system, the need for the fiscal authority to strike the right chord in developing an efficient tax administration framework that will boost the nation's revenue base cannot be overemphasized. Blessed Omonose, TVC News, Lagos.
Contradictory values of cargoes and increase in the pre-arrival assessment reports are not facilitating trade in the ports. The coordinator of the 100% compliance team of the National Association of Government-Approved Freight Forwarders raised the objection on the view of a high cost of doing business at Nigerian seaports. Ifunaya Eze reports.
Port traders in Nigeria are contending with different port policies that are pitching them against authorities at the seaport. The issues of controversy include the pre-arrival assessment report, the National Automotive Council policy, the vehicle identification number valuation process, and high terminal charges, among others. The situation is causing tension in the port. The leadership of the 100% compliance team is of the view that though the contradictory valuation process is frustrating trade, strike action should be the last option in resolving current problems.
We have an issue with the power, the increase of the power. The controller power is been giving us a lot of issues. You will see the same item, they will give us 5 million. The same item will give us 8 million. The same item will give us 4 million. The same item will give us 10 million. You don't understand where did he get his value. How did he come arrive with that value? We are only advising our members to stay calm. We want to make sure that we go for dialogue.
He also called attention to security concerns relating to containers going on transit to bonded terminals, noting that such consignments require security escorts to avoid diversion of cargoes.
Insecurity is everywhere, especially myself that come from the north. Without we knowing where these cargo are going, examine those cargo, how do you know what is in those containers? What we are seeing, let them make sure that those containers get to where they're supposed to go and receive, and due process should be done.
He underscored the need to streamline policies on contradictory values to guide against traders circumventing guidelines. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, oil prices in international market rose today, extending gains from the previous session as the European Union firmed up plans to tighten sanctions on Russia this week, with Germany saying it was prepared to back an immediate embargo on Russian oil. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude recorded a price dip of 0.47% to hit $104.70 per barrel. Brent sells at $107.10, registering a downward price margin of 0.47%. Bonnie Light is still sustaining its greenish outlook with a price surge of 2.33%, selling at $109.60 per barrel. For the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers offer $105.30 with an uptick of 0.01%.